Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome back to Comics Evolve with myself, Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And Andy should be joining us. He is back from holiday. He should be joining us soon. But we also have Mark Rellaford from the group. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing pretty good. Glad to have you on for our discussion of topic today. Since we're in between shows and waiting for Ashoka to finish, we're going to talk about Marvel versus DC animation. So I know Mark wanted to come on for this conversation. After that, we then will get into the news of the week. So how do you guys want to start things off? Do we want to talk about the DC side or the Marvel side? And to be honest here, when it comes to the animation stuff, I know more on the Marvel side than the DC side. So what do you want to start off with?
I know more about the DC side. So
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, I watch more DC stuff. To be honest, I was like looking back at a lot of like animated Marvel content and realized there's a lot I have not seen since like going back. Like, I don't think I ever watched the Silver Surfer show, for instance. There's a few like older. I don't think I watched all the Incredible Hulk show, the older one. But yeah, I've watched a lot of DC stuff. So I guess let's start with DC.
So I'll kick it off, Alex, since you are more versed in that, and then you and Mark can go ahead and discuss on the DC side of things.
All right, so let's start with like one of the biggest, heaviest hitters I think of any DC show, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I think those are two of the strongest animated shows ever for DC. And probably some of the best animated shows ever, in my opinion, because Unlimited kind of like picks up where Justice League left off. So they're kind of connected, but they're like two separate shows, kind of in a way. But yeah, Mark, I mean, what are your thoughts on those? Like, they're great shows.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a while since I've seen them, but there's like the fact that they connect so well with each other. You're seeing different characters, different storylines that, and you'll see some of these characters across multiple shows and stuff. Like I was reading about the Royal Flush Gang the other day and didn't realize that they showed up in Justice League. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's been a while since I've seen this, because Justice League or the Royal Flush Gang is one of my favorite DC villain groups, and I just watched the Batman Beyond episode the other day with them, and it's just like from first season, it's like so good.
and Justice League Unlimited did a really good job too of like connecting and hitting other shows too, like Batman Beyond. Like Unlimited had that one episode where they talk about how Terry McGinnis came about and how Amanda Waller like realized that the world would need Batman one day, and Batman was getting old unlike all the other heroes and things, and he was like, his mind was still there, but his body wasn't. So she wanted there to be somebody like Batman. So she kind of like, and they do a great like sequence with the Royal Flush Gang where Ace is like dying and they send Batman in to like stop that. And he like goes in and she reads his mind and she's like, I know that you're not going to kill me. And he's like, no, never was, and he's just there for this little girl that's like having a brain tumor, and her powers are going nuts and she can like warp reality and stuff like that. And he's just there for her until she dies. And it's like Amanda Waller talks about how like Batman is this great kind of character because like he doesn't just punch things, like he thinks his way through things. And like sometimes you need like somebody who can't just hit the hardest to really fight certain issues and problems and things. And I thought they did a great job with, honestly, the original 7 that they use in the Justice League. They did a great job with those. Like, and then when they went to Unlimited, like it got even better. Like there were so many. I mean, like you're talking about characters like the Question came into play in that show. Like
Question was awesome.
Yeah, you had
because of that show.
Yeah, Shining Knight was in that show, which was just like another deep pull.
So was what's the cowboy?
I think that was like a kind of like a vigilante kind of thing.
Yeah, Vigilante. That's
Yep. And yeah, I mean, like you had Stargirl in there, and one of my favorite shots of any animated show is that big like zoom out where it's got like everybody like in the Justice League Unlimited kind of like full shot. And yeah, Mr. Terrific was in that show too. They had so many great people. And I think that kind of played off really well off of Batman the Animated Series too, because you
absolutely.
Conroy that also was like the voice of Batman in that series. And then on top of that, like how it kind of played into like Batman Beyond and like that show.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Alex. Let me see if he comes back. He dropped.
Well, if I can add to Alex's there, that the Justice League show really did add in as an awesome filler in between like all those Batman shows, because you had the Batman the animated series, and then there was I believe there was a Batman and Robin series, him and Dick, and then there was a Batman and Superman series, and so they all kind of, and then Superman had his own series as well. But like I remember watching, I don't remember one episode from the Batman and Superman series, but like Joker uses one of his laughing gas bombs on Superman, and it's just like as a kid you're just like, whoa, what's gonna happen? But as an adult, it's like, I think that's gonna work on Superman.
So it looks like we got Alex back here. So since we have Alex back, we have some things from no problem. We have some things here from the Facebook chat. So the first one is, you can't beat DC when it comes to animation. And then we have a question from the chat too as well. Do you think animation cartoons are better suited to translate comics than live action? And I'll start with that one. Whether it's DC or Marvel, I think you can use that for some mediums to tell those stories. You can almost use it as a plan B as well, I guess. You know, if for some reason like something gets pulled from the live action slate, they could always turn around and release it as animation. Look at What If, for example. You know, just one off the top of my head. Look at how they did the whole Ultron thing and all the team ups and the thing and that. I don't think we could have seen that on screen as well as they did it in the animated style. You know, they still could have done it, but I don't think it would have been as good as animation if they try to do that on live action. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's one of those things where with a lot of animated shows, Marvel or DC for that matter, I think that they do a really good job of like utilizing each character to like a great extent, where like each character plays a part. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like if they have a plan, like with the Justice League show, like you would watch like stuff where they would have like an episode where it would focus on just 2-3 characters, or it might focus on all 7.
Yep.
And all 7 of them felt like they got great screen time in every episode. It never felt like anybody was just like put on the shelf and forgotten. And I think that that is like something that like animated shows do a really good job of. And I think like sometimes like when we watch live action stuff, it's really hard to put everybody on screen for a lot of time and get them the screen time that you think that character deserves. So I think there's that one little difference for me.
I mean, look at Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, especially Across the Spider-Verse. There's no way we could have gotten that many Spider-Man characters on the screen at once that we saw in that film in a live-action movie.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, Mark?
I definitely agree with that. Or like, because as a medium of its own, that animation can really do a lot of things that live action can't. Just because, or well, for one, most live action movies, they're theater movies, and they've got a specific runtime that they have to that they can't go over, and so there's a lot of stuff that's cut out. Whereas as an animated medium, they can fit in all that extra stuff and do it in multiple episodes or even across movies. For example, the DC animated universe, they had 16 movies across the board, and sure, most of them, like, there were like 3 or 4 of them were Batman movies, which was great because everyone loves Batman. But they took like these classic Batman storylines and they put their own spin on it. So you had like the Court of Owls, but the Court of Owls was like, it was different enough from the comic that you could still go back and read the comic and be like, okay, this is definitely different. Same thing with like Throne of Atlantis, but every single movie connected to the last movie, which was awesome. Like, you would see from the first Batman movie with Damian that Damian was a real tool. And but you see him from that beginning to Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, how much he has changed over that time. And it's just really cool seeing that character progression, even seeing it only for a few minutes per movie kind of thing.
So let me put it this way, though. With DC having the Max and Marvel having Disney Plus in this day and age, do you think in a streaming medium-wise they could do more live action versus animation that way? Just for the fact, because let me give you an example. Fantastic Four, right? You watch the Fantastic Four cartoon on Disney Plus, and they've gone through and introduced so many characters, not just the comics, but they've followed up with the cartoons as well. Could they pull something like that off on a Disney Plus for Marvel, or use a similar, project for DC on the Max?
So, like, take like what they did with the animated show and make it live action?
Yeah, and then do like a weekly thing, 30 minutes. Disney likes their 30 to 45 minutes episodes, and could they do that and have that amount of seasons also? Because Fantastic Four is a lot of seasons also. There's a lot of content in that catalog. I mean, you look at something like the sitcom, they have to do it like, in my thinking, they have to do almost sitcom style. Because look at shows like Friends or even Seinfeld or any of those sitcoms. Even It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, who's like in 16 seasons now. You could probably do it with these stream mediums like that, and possibly do that today. But just looking at what we've seen with, I'm skeptical because look at some of the budget like Disney Plus for Loki season 2 or even for Secret Invasion, and that was only 6 episodes. Getting those type of things, in that long running thing, you'd have to almost be a primetime thing versus maybe a streaming show in that aspect.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like we're kind of in this weird spot with like a lot of programming too, because like, let's take the live action CW shows for an example. Like, most of those were like, each season would be like 23 episodes, right? Yeah. So about like halfway through the season, you're watching and you're like, okay, there's definitely going to be some filler episodes in here. Like, and you watch and that like you could probably go through and cut out maybe 2 or 3 episodes in each one of those seasons, and you probably really didn't need them. And I feel like that's kind of the fine balance that you have to kind of walk here, where like it's almost like, I mean, I think I'm terrified to hear like DC and sitcom in the same kind of like sentence, so like like that kind of scares me. But like at the same time, it's like, I don't think you need 23 episodes to tell a story, but like sometimes it's hard to do it in like 6. So like, which is what we've seen with like some Marvel stuff. So I think with a lot of animated stuff, it just really depends on the type of project you want to deliver. If you want to do it in like the movie format, I think DC nails that a lot of times. And one of my favorite animated movies is the Flashpoint Paradox, and that one is different from the comic, but still very similar to the comic, to where it's like, it's not the same, but it's so close. And I think they did a really good job of being different, but not being too different. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Mark, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I as far as being able to do like those weekly episodes, it would have to be something like, kind of like they did with Star Trek and stuff back in the day, where every single episode is just, you cut it off at the end of the episode, where it's kind of a one-off thing. Sometimes it may carry over into multiple episodes, or or every episode has its own story and then has an overall arching story.
Mhm.
But I don't know how that would work with a Marvel or DC kind of feel.
Yeah, Alex, you laughed when I said sitcom in DC. You don't think a Booster Gold Blue Beetle would be a great sitcom weekly series to watch?
Yeah, I do, but see, like, I feel like going back to like the 23 episode thing, like the 23 episode thing was kind of like, I feel like in my mind established because it's about half a year. So normally a TV show runs about half a year. So you want it running like once a week,
Yep.
every week, like going. So it's like, I like that idea, but like what scares me, I think the most about that is like whenever you get caught into that, it's kind of like the CW has kind of this soap opera kind of like feeling
Yep.
to it. To where like when a lot of those episodes were coming out on some shows, they were on a weekly basis. You would go and you'd sit down and you watch for 30 minutes. And sometimes, like, I remember there was this like 1 week where something was happening with The Flash, and I watched, like, waited till the next week, and I watched that next week, and I was like, I feel like this story did not progress at all. Like, like it was just like one of those things where I was like, I feel like that I could have not watched this episode and I feel exactly the same as I am right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you get caught in that rut of doing the weekly episodes thing, it almost like makes the episodes not as important. So that's what like scares me.
Okay.
I don't really like have like a negative, I guess, point against it, but other than that, because it's just the simple fact of I feel like they run on too much whenever you get stuck in trying to fill like a time schedule almost,
Exactly.
From the Facebook chat here, I definitely think it's at least easier to adapt comics to animation as opposed to live action. Yep, exactly. You have a lot more flexibility because at that time it's more voice acting than anything. And you can constantly do the animation stuff in the off times, whatever, that kind of stuff, keep it going, and then bring them in to do the audio all at once, which we've seen them do. So that's a great thing there. Perfect example, Jarian with the What If series, 100% agree. Another question here from the Facebook chat. My sons love Teen Titans Go. My son loves it too as well. He's always watching that. What are your thoughts on those adopted shows for younger kids? Do you think it's a good idea?
So with it, Teen Titans Go, I feel like was a decent kind of adaptation. Like it's meant to be for kids. It's meant to be funny. But it's still like it has all the characters and stuff. So like that's the cool thing about those shows, that you're still getting to see these characters. But then you get ones like the show about the Batmobile. That's just like
Bat wheels, whatever. Yeah.
Like, and I feel like the same thing goes with Marvel. They've got sure, Spider Friends is meant for young kids.
Yeah, Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. Yep.
Yeah, but it also feels like it's just like, is this needed? Because like I've talked with Alex about this several times. Like when we were kids, at that age, we were watching Batman the Animated Series. We were watching like Ninja Turtles.
Yep. G.I. Joe, He-Man. Yep.
It's just like, this is like, sure, it was kind of towards kids, but it was also an adult enough storyline that you're just like, these new shows are only set towards like 3 or 4 year olds. And you're like, why?
I think Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur did a good balance though of capturing that to where it's geared towards kids, but you can still enjoy it as an adult, and they still brought the characters in. It's almost like shows are trying to find that Shrek balance, right? Because Shrek did a great job of gearing towards kids, but having adult-based jokes in there that only if you're watching as an adult that you get it. Like when, I was like older when Shrek came out, watching that now as a full adult now, it still hits differently than when I was younger watching Shrek. And even my niece now, who's in her early 20s, who grew up on Shrek, same thing with her. She gets the older adult jokes now as well. So it depends if they do that balance, but I think Shrek's a good example. And I thought Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur got that as well. I think some of the Spider-Man cartoons get that also a little bit. Not the Amazing Friends one, because that's definitely geared just towards little kids, but the other Spider-Man cartoons that you can watch and enjoy as well.
So Teen Titans Go is perfect for this because back when I was a kid in 2003, they came out with the original Teen Titans, the original animation of that show, which I hold dearly. I love that show. I think that show is amazing. And I was so upset when they made Teen Titans Go because like I thought it was too goofy. I was like, the original one was like, it was adult. Like I watched it, like I was 10 when it came out. Like, you know, like I watched that show religiously. I would watch it every week. Like, you know, like it was just like, I loved that show. But I think for me, like when I saw the like kind of like comedic animation done for more younger kids of that show, I didn't like it. And I felt like it kind of soured that for me a little bit. Like I couldn't watch the Teen Titans Go. I loved the original one. I thought the episodes were great. I mean, you had Deathstroke in it as Slade.
Yeah.
And he was a great villain that was constantly popping up. They did great like season cliffhangers and all kinds of things, big endings and things, or they would do 2-part episodes and they'd leave you on a cliffhanger one week and come back the next week and finish it all up and everything like that. And I thought they did a really good job. And, you know, for that group, it was just Robin, Cyborg, Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy. And they were young heroes, you know, so it like matched with me at like 10 years old, you know, like, and I thought they did a really good job. But like as a kid looking back, I couldn't imagine watching Teen Titans Go and not watching the original Teen Titans that they came out with the original animation style.
And that's where they had that movie too, right? Didn't they have like Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go?
I think they like had some like movie where they did some like animation like crossover thing where they did meet each other. I've seen something like that.
I need to see that if that's the case.
Yeah,
I thought it was a movie.
I loved when Turtles when they did TMNT Forever.
Oh yeah.
They had the classic 80s Turtles. They had the 2000s Turtles. They had the comic black and white Turtles. And it was just so fun just getting that connection of all these Turtles together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. It's like a hour and 20-minute film. It's like an animated film that you can watch. So yeah, there is that one where they have that one. I thought there was I watched that with my son. I couldn't 100% remember that one or not.
Mm-hmm.
Back from the chat, the follow up on the question. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is the really young stuff needed when there are other animations out there that would do the same job? It depends on, you know, what kind of content you want to show your kids. I feel like those younger animated series that they do like that, they help kind of get kids interested in these type of things. I know it helped my son get interested, and I know like projects like Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur also helped my daughter get interested as well. So it does help if you want to kind of get your kids interested in, you know, these type of things, and instead of just watching like I don't know, Aces on the Chase. What's that? That cartoon. I'm going blank here on the name. But you know, those other cartoons like that are out there that are just kind of just, you know, what I'm talking about. Those other general kid cartoons.
I do agree that the children's cartoons are important for kids. For one, because, well, I know a lot about this kind of stuff since having a young child, and that the average animation show, like a frame will change once every 12 seconds, about, whereas the average kids show will change every 4 to 5 seconds. And so it keeps kids interested because things are changing way more often. And so they're gearing these ones to more younger kids so that, or these kids stay interested. And then overall, the more they're interested in these characters as they're younger, the more they'll be interested in some of these shows when they're older.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they should use animation to, because I know we've seen some animation in live action movies to kind of help, you know, tell some past stories or fill some gaps, that kind of stuff. Do you think both Marvel and DC should both use animation like that as gap fillers in some things? Like, for example, special presentations for Disney Plus, for example. Should they do some of those animated versus having live action to kind of fill some gaps and tell some stories that they necessarily can't get on in a live action format? You know, I know like I Am Groot's kind of like a filler that does that. What If helped kind of tell some other stories, but then like What If led into Multiverse of Madness, for example, with Captain Carter and that kind of stuff. Do you think both should use that as a medium to kind of tell some of these stories without going full-fledged live action and kind of fill some of the gaps?
I feel like that's like a dangerous line that you walk sometimes because like I think it was The Boys. The Boys did that animated like thing with all the episodes where like some of them were different animation styles. One might have been live action, I don't remember, but like it was that little, I think it was like 6 or 7 episodes or something that they did for that Boys animated show or whatever. And it was the one with like papers and with all the people that got powers and stuff that were kind of like, you know, the rejects and everything. Well, I feel like that kind of like, if you do different animation styles for everything, I feel like that kind of makes things a little bit weird. If they stuck maybe with like maybe like a What If animation style, or they stuck with like the same type of animation style, like moving forward, I feel like for say all of them, I feel like that would probably be like what they would need to do there. But I think it would be hard because like, you know, you're not always, I mean, even with Werewolf by Night, we got like a black and white old school movie kind of style. So we didn't even tell a live action story the same way that we did. So it's almost like hard to stick to the same animation style for everything. Mm-hmm. But as long as it would be, I guess, similar, I think it would probably work, you know?
Okay. Mark, anything real quick before we move on?
Yeah, I agree with that there. I think, well, for one, I think that Marvel could do like really well by adding more animation in there, just because it gets more of their content out. If they've got stuff like, even like they've got what are those little 6-minute episodes about characters that they have on Disney Plus for the Marvel, and like that's just shows what they've been in the movies and stuff.
The Legends episode, Marvel Legends. Yeah.
They could do like even longer ones for characters and stuff. Get people interested in people like Ironheart and stuff. Get them in on a show so that that people are introduced to them and they're like, okay, I might be interested in going and seeing this movie now that I know who this character is and a bit of their backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, and they've done that some with the animation. So the Marvel. So before we move on, anything else on DC before we go to the Marvel side? Nothing.
We can go.
Okay.
DC.
So
she's better. So.
Yeah. So on the Marvel side, they've kind of done that though. So the Marvel Rising series, you know, has done a great job of introducing these new characters to come in. You know, Kamala Khan, Ironheart. There's been others. I think even some of the new Warriors are in some of those series they cross over with. So the Marvel, even Shuri type stuff. So the Marvel Rising stuff is out there on Disney Plus, and I feel that's one of the good things that they did with Marvel 3 Animation is that they add the whole catalog to Disney Plus that you can watch. So, like, I've gone back and watched shows. Like, 2 of my favorite ones that are out there are Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Avengers Assemble. And you can actually go watch those to kind of catch up on certain characters, too, as they cross over to the movies. Like, for example, it was either Earth's Mightiest Heroes or Avengers Assemble, where the scene from Endgame where they're walking in the suits and they're going in to go back to the quantum realm. That was a scene in one of the cartoons to where they were about to go off against, I believe it was Kang, in one of the Kang episodes on there. So they've kind of done some of that. It's not really as easy to find. You have to go out there and look for it. But that's why, like in the past, in the group, I always said, hey, go watch these cartoons because it will, if you're not a comic book reader, it will explain a lot of things to you out there. And then to further add, you know, Fantastic Four, that's a great series out there. And it just shows you how much history Fantastic Four has had if you don't read the comics, because Fantastic Four is responsible for introducing a lot of characters in the comics, right? You know, you have Inhumans, you have Silver Surfer, you've got, you know, villains too as well. Galactus is out there, Puppet Master. There's so many, Namor, you know, I always joke about Namor and Sue Storm. That is in the cartoons and the comics, you know, that's all there. So, you know, and I wouldn't mind seeing them kind of use some of those elements of Fantastic Four cartoons in the Fantastic Four projects, even the theme song, because the theme song is catchy and it does get stuck in your head, you know, kind of doing that kind of style where it kind of starts off. And speaking of sitcoms, I believe the cartoon starts off a Fantastic Four on a sitcom or a interview type show, like in a sitcom style, telling their story of how they became the Fantastic Four and what happened to them, the way the series starts off. So you got that one. The Incredible Hulk stuff's out there is pretty good. The one thing, if you haven't watched the Incredible Hulk cartoons, the old ones, I will warn you, the way he talks will get stuck in your head, and you'll start talking like that, because my son got mad at me for a while, so I kept doing that to him. But there's all kinds of great content, even like getting introduced to Guardians of the Galaxy, Ultimate Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man cartoons out there are pretty good. I feel that it's not advertised as much that Marvel has all this content out there. And then, going into what they're doing now with Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur, what they're doing with What If, and even the I Am Groot shorts as well. So they have a pretty good catalog. They don't have the history because it's kind of in gaps. It's not like consistent like DC has been, but they have that content out there. It's all there on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Avengers Assemble are the Marvel equivalent of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited to me. I mean, they are just like such strong series, very similar in the fact that they kind of do pull from the source material a lot, just like how I think they do that on both sides for those shows. And I think that those shows, like you said in the past, like they're great because they tell a lot about the characters and what's going on and similar events that are happening and everything. They do a really good job. Kind of want to like shine a little bit of a highlight on one of my favorite X-Men shows is X-Men Evolution. Don't know if you've ever seen that. I love the animation style on that show, but that show I thought was like a grittier version of the X-Men. When I saw
X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, and I like darker stuff. That's always been like my sort of thing, and I really like that about X-Men Evolution was like it seemed to have that kind of grittier, more adult kind of like feeling to it, where it was incredibly dark at times. And I think that they did a really good job in that show with that, and that's one show I think that stands out to me with Marvel always is because I like that tone that they brought for that one show.
From the chat here real quick, on Marvel's side, Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Avengers Assembled are great. And then they said, and of course, the original X-Men from the 90s, great cartoons. Another one here, I also quite like the two Ultimate Avengers animated movies. I got to watch those ones too as well. Those are my list. I haven't watched those yet. So yeah, a lot of good content out there. And we know we have X-Men 97 returning using the same style, a lot of the same voice actors from the original cartoon that's supposed to be coming out next year sometime. Mm-hmm. Another good one, too, is that I used to have, I couldn't find it, a book of DVDs that had, like, the Hulk series, the newer Hulk one, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, the Thor one, and something else. And those are pretty good. We actually had them in the car in our minivan. And we watched those, the kids would watch those on road trips when they were younger, or we put those on to help to kind of watch something other than Bubble Guppies. Because that's the worst, get stuck in your head as well. But those are some pretty good ones. I actually like the Doctor Strange ones they had on that. I couldn't find the DVDs to pull out. It's like a book of like 5 or 6 DVDs that have this Marvel content in there, but those are on Disney Plus too as well. So
is the Doctor Strange movie on Disney Plus?
Which one?
I remember watching it back, or probably like 2010-ish. It was on Netflix back then, and it goes through the introduction of Doctor Strange. He goes through the accident. He's like, I don't remember who the villain is, but
was it the Sorcerer Supreme one? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the DVD I was talking about. It's that one. Yeah,
like that was I had read a Doctor Strange comic as a kid, but I had no idea what I was reading. I remember Mephisto being in it. It was actually the first comic I've ever read, and I was just like, what the heck is going on? I was like, why is he talking to this devil? But watching that movie was just like, wow, I know who Doctor Strange is. Like, he's awesome. And I'm like, I look forward to when they actually introduce him and stuff.
Yeah, so that DVD, I just found it. It was The Invincible Iron Man. It was Doctor Strange Supreme. It was Hulk First, Planet Hulk, and Thor Tales of Asgard was then that 5 DVD set that I had. So I gotta find it.
Planet Hulk, I absolutely love that movie, and I think that movie kind of shines into Ragnarok a bit because I feel like some of that inspired parts of Ragnarok because like if you just take Beta Ray Bill and switch him out for Thor, and we basically get that like entire fight scene on Sakaar, very similar to how Beta Ray Bill and Hulk fight. And I love Beta Ray Bill in that scene because like he has this great line where he looks at Hulk and he's like, you know, one of us must die today, and I assure you it will not be me. And I'm just like, man, I love Beta Ray Bill. So awesome.
And there's also some of the content out there. It's either Avengers Assembled or Earth's Mightiest Heroes. There is some Beta Ray Bill episodes too as well. So you see a lot of that. Yeah. They go through the Cabal.
It's
yeah, you get Cabal. You get who's that group with Hyperion? There's an episode
Squadron Supreme.
Yeah, Squadron Supreme episodes, and they're in there. You have a lot of Black Panther stuff in there. So if you want like the full range of stuff, I wouldn't say full range, but the biggest range of heroes. Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers Assemble have that, but then you have the other episodes or the other shows that tie more into just the individual characters, and they have some crossovers, like, was it like Wolverine X-Men 1 or something like that, or no, Wolverine and
the X-Men.
And the X-Men. Mm-hmm. Then you get just the Wolverine one, you get a Blade one, those type of things. Also, too, like, you see some of the, again, like the Negative Zone jail prison they use, the Ultron stuff's in there. So yeah, if you want something really broad, watch those two series, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Avengers Assemble, but then go look out for the other stuff too, because again, you have all the old stuff. The She-Hulk cartoons are out there as well. At one time we talked about Avengers.next, the little kids, and that kind of stuff. We see Hulk with not Hulk, Thor shows up kind of like in a vision or a dream to his daughter, because she thinks she was worthy or something like that. So yeah, there's all kinds of good content on there on Disney Plus.
I can tell you the one show that I can't handle is the 90s Spider-Man show. Like, I've gone back and tried to watch it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But it's funny because in the Spider-Verse comic arc, they have like a couple comics where they're going through that specific world. In the 90s animated show, it's so funny just seeing his villains and stuff, and you're just like, oh my gosh, these guys are awful.
But like a good one though is the one where Spider-Man, I think is it Web Warriors, or where he leads like a SHIELD team. He's a part of SHIELD. He checks up with Nick Fury. He has like a team with like Kazar and Zabu and Cloak and Dagger and like a whole team of them that he's leading and kind of training them. He even has Amadeus Cho in there wearing the Iron Spider suit and that kind of stuff. And then you have like Taskmaster, one of the main villains of that one, where he's trying to recruit the kids to be on the bad side of things. And so you had them going back and forth and that kind of stuff. So it's actually a pretty cool one. That's one of my favorite Spider-Man ones is I think it's Web Warriors is the one that's in, but yeah, he kind of leads and builds his team, which I wouldn't mind seeing something like that in live action as well, where he kind of builds up some of the younger characters and bring them into the fold, especially like Kazar and Zabu, for example.
Yeah.
I love that animated show, and I cannot think of the name of it, but it's Spider-Man, Luke Cage, White Tiger, Iron Fist.
I thought that was... is that what part of Web Warriors or the other one? I thought it was... They might be in that one too. Let me see if I can look here. Spider-Man. I'm trying to go through some of the cartoons in my browser here while we're talking. It was Ultimate Spider-Man?
Maybe.
Okay.
Excellent. I was just going to say, like, I remember I used to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, like, with Firestar and Iceman, and that, like, kind of felt like, not like a reboot of that, of course, but it felt like another one of those to me, where it was like, like him and his friends, like, out doing things, and I really liked that show because Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends really got me into Spider-Man as a kid. It was like one of the earliest Marvel things I think I ever watched. So like seeing that show, I really like Iron Fist and Luke Cage and White Tiger and Nova. I didn't think I would like it at first, but I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I was going too. It kind of showed you some of those other characters more when they were working together, because they all were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I feel like, so as far as animation goes, there's a certain percentage of people that are okay with watching animated movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they have kids, they're okay with watching like Disney or whatever. But as an adult, there is a very high percentage of people that do not enjoy watching animated shows because they think that all animated shows are for kids, and then if they're for adults, they're usually like really crass.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you almost have to get into like Adult Swim and get into things like, you know, the Boondocks or even Robot Chicken, which
Yeah.
I would love to see them do some Deadpool type stuff in the style of, you know, Boondocks or Robot Chicken. I think that would go over pretty well. And maybe, you know, if that could be a thing they could look at to help with, you know, Marvel's animation is do an Adult Swim type thing on Disney Plus with that type of content.
Which it's funny you say that because I used to watch X-Men Evolution on Adult Swim when I was a kid. So like it makes me laugh because it's like it's definitely one of those things where I agree. I think grittier stuff is kind of like the problem here because like with animation, it's supposed to be marketed towards kids. Is really, I feel like, the main driver, but at the same time, how do you make something for adults that's gritty but also appealing to children?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a fine line you have to kind of walk there.
That's that balance.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need to be gritty either. Because like there's like the Clone Wars show, for example, it started out being for kids, and then they progressively the audience grew older, and so they got a lot more serious with it as well, and that was awesome. And then the Rebels, they started with a new audience, so started with kids again, and then they move on to as these kids grow older to making it a lot more adult themed, and that's one of those things that I absolutely love about those shows.
And then also too, we have I Am Groot that's out from on the Marvel side. All the episodes are there now. Season 2.
Excellent.
X-Men 97 is coming out here pretty soon, along with What If Season 2 as well. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how Marvel continues with these new projects as the MCU goes on, and if they do expand more of the animation out as far as from the, you know, because right now, there's just 3 shows, 4 shows. Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, I Am Groot, X97 that's coming out, and What If. Yeah, or that kind of like their 4 ones they keep doing right now. I think Spider-Man is Amazing Friends are also still going on too as well. That hasn't ended yet.
And then they're planning on doing the Spider-Man freshman year.
Yes, that one's kind of back and forth on that one and how it connects and what they're doing with that one. So yeah, there's still just some jury out on that one. So
Is Marvel Zombies?
Zombies.
Bring that up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I forgot about that one. Yeah, Marvel Zombies is coming too. I don't know where that is at in the slate either. I haven't heard anything about that one lately. But yeah, so that's 6 now they're gonna have. So
and that's a show, movie.
Yeah,
Zombies is gonna be a show on Disney Plus.
Okay. No, like clue on episodes or anything like that. Okay.
Nope. So
very cool.
Before we move on to the news, any last thoughts on Marvel animation?
So one last thing that I want to say, as far as getting content out there for Marvel, I really think that because there's so many people out there that they want to see more MCU stuff or they want to see more Marvel, but they're not necessarily motivated to go read the comics or things like that. I feel like Marvel should really start making movies of some of their classic storylines. Like,
yeah,
I'd said this the other day in a comment. I'm like, I would love to see a lot of this like 90s stuff, like Days of Future Past, some of these classic X-Men stories, and as an animated show to get more Marvel content out there. And it's so much easier to do that with voice actors.
Yep.
Like even if you're using mainstream actors, they only need to be in a booth. They don't only need to meet up with people or whatever that. And scheduling is so much easier. And so I definitely think that Marvel should jump on that train by making more movies and stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, the scheduling is easy too because you can go and sit in a booth and blast out a whole season's worth in a short amount of time of your content. You know, I know they said that with X97, they're already working on season 2 as far as that kind of stuff. So it seems like it's so easy to just schedule a little bit of time, get all your voice acting stuff done. the animation can be done before or in parallel or just, and so forth. But it's something where they can pump more, if they wanted to pump more content out, to use that to have our people to relate to the stories from the comics where they necessarily won't read the comics.
Imagine they did animated movies for characters that really don't really have an avenue in the MCU, so you could have like a Cosmic Ghost Rider movie where it's an animated hour and a half long. Like, I feel like that would be cool. You could knock it all out. You could choose to do a sequel. You could never touch it again if you really wanted to, And I think that there's a lot of characters like that you can really kind of like explore and put out there and do with animation that maybe it wouldn't be the easiest to do in live action. And I think they would be really well received in animation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how Spider-Verse does once, because there's some talk about that might cross over. Well, we saw in the Cross Spider-Verse where they did cross over into live action, film a little bit with the Venom stuff in that one. But interesting to see too what they do towards the end of that with the rumors of Miles Morales possibly coming into the MCU, and if they can go back and forth and use Spider-Verse for that. But Spider-Verse is a good test to see that adults will see animation. Spider-Verse is a good litmus test for that one. So, moving on to the news. So some She-Hulk news. There is a rumor that season 2 will be developed. Even though all the chatter on She-Hulk, the ratings and the views for it were pretty high. Supposedly they were working on this and it was being developed before the strikes. We know the strikes are changing a lot of stuff, so we need to see if that is going to continue.
I was like, I really loved She-Hulk. I know I'm in the minority of people, but I'm like, I never read any She-Hulk comics or anything, but I enjoyed the show. Like, sure, there's lots of things in there that they could definitely change for second season. Like, if they're gonna have Scar, change up his look.
Yeah.
Like, they should really listen to the fans about stuff like this, because they're just like, okay, yeah, we did this, but the fans absolutely hated this, so maybe we'll change it up again.
Or the Wrecking Crew.
Mm-hmm.
Make them a little more legitimate than what they were.
Yeah. I was just talking to Jason earlier about how, like, you literally have that thing where we have Abomination and the whole, like, show up and lock up on screen. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm like, hey, I don't care. It doesn't make sense. I want to see this happen. And they're like, you don't want to see that. And I'm like, no, I very much want to see that. Put that back on the screen. Like, like, come on, please. Like, I don't even care if it was Abomination fighting She-Hulk. I just wanted to see a Hulk fight Abomination on screen again, like. So, like, it didn't matter if it was Bruce, but it was just one of those things where I was like, not only did they, like, put it in front of us, but they took it away, like, at the same time. And I was just like, oh, so heartbroken,
Yeah, but also, too, there is some good stuff they did. Like, there are some obscure characters. They went deep into the comics with the pullout and put in that series, too. So, kind of...
Leapfrog?
Yeah, Leapfrog, or even like the porcupine, or
porcupine,
or the vampire guy, who has connections elsewhere too. So
Saracen or something like
that. Yeah. So doing that, I read some of the comics of She-Hulk. I watched all the cartoons. I will still go back and watch the cartoons sometimes too. But yeah, I think those type of things are good for trying to introduce other characters like that. But yeah, I definitely would like to see some things kind of cleaned up a little bit. But overall, I enjoyed She-Hulk season 1. Pepper Potts was in the news. She talked, I'm sorry, not Pepper Potts. Gwyneth Paltrow was in the news about Pepper Potts on why we haven't seen her since Stark's death. She said, "Oh my God, stop yelling at me. We just stopped doing it because Iron Man died. And why do you need Pepper Potts without Iron Man? I don't know. Call up Marvel and yell at them, not me. I'm just sitting here." Now, we do know that lastly, she was running Stark Industries. She was the CEO of it. So with all the stuff that we've seen with Damage Control and Spider-Man, that kind of stuff, we've seen Happy, but we haven't seen Pepper. Yes, I know she's probably off kind of secluded raising Morgan, but it's interesting to see, they could bring her back into the fold from a Stark Industries point of view. Like, for example, she could be a prime candidate to be in Armor Wars or Iron Heart. because of what's going on in those two series. Also, too, who knows? Morgan could take over the rescue mantle at some point. We did see her put the helmet on in Endgame, so she ended up being rescued in the MCU. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Morgan Stark is definitely, I mean, out there. I mean, Tony's daughter is probably going to end up with Stark Industries one day, right? Like, so, I mean, I think it's like one of those things where it's like weird for her to be like, oh yeah, you know, like Pepper had Tony's kid, now they're just going to disappear now. And I don't believe that. I feel like there's maybe some story left to tell there in the future down the road. I mean, the little girl has to grow up, like, so it doesn't need to be right now. It could be a decade from now. Mm-hmm. But, like, you know, she could very much come back, or she could not if she chose not to. But, like, you know, even if she makes her appearance on screen or not, they could always just do the thing of, like, have her just, like, be mentioned and not seen on screen and tell her story through somebody else, you know?
Yeah. From the chat here, I think we'll see Morgan for sure. So that's a good point there. Deadpool 3 news, some Deadpool 3 chatter. So via Daniel RPK, looks like Kidpool will probably make his debut in Deadpool 3. Also too, the Dogpool as well is the other one that's been talked about out there. Other news here, despite being spotted on set, Ben Affleck is not reprising his role as Daredevil. I wonder if we get a Batman joke. I'm just kidding. But unless they're changing something up or he's being something to someone else. Because he was on set, you know, why was he on set? But he's not being Daredevil. Who is he going to be?
I'm just waiting for them to be like, oh, he's not Daredevil, he's just Matt Murdock.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, it doesn't say that Murdock, so he could just be a Matt Murdock cameo in here.
Or he could just be Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
That would be
funny. But Jennifer Garner's Elektra is still confirmed to be returning, so we're still going to get Elektra. So maybe we'll just get Matt Murdock. Or some kind of joke about Ben Affleck. Director Sean Levy says they went through multiple iterations and fittings for Hugh Jackman's comic accurate Wolverine suit. He said, like the rest of the world, I've waited 2 decades to see Wolverine in a whole movie with Deadpool. And I don't know if this is our last shot at Wolverine on screen. So I was going to make goddamn sure we get the yellow and blue just once and we get it right. So there you go. And we've seen that in some of the shots out there that have been shown on social media and so forth. Levy also addressed rumors. He said the rumors of actors, singers, sports stars who are apparently in Deadpool 3 are fabulous. So I'll simply say that some of those rumors are true and some of them aren't. So, maybe Ben Affleck. Here's some news that dropped today, though. Daniel Radcliffe has reportedly been cast in a secret role. Wolverine variant, Dakin himself. You know, they're doing like some kind of Harry Potter joke or something, or, you know, what are your guys' thoughts?
Harry Potter joke. I like that. Just like Harry Potter over there.
Yeah.
That would be great. And then Daniel Radcliffe just flips him the bird.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Be like just like a thing, like they pruned Harry Potter.
Yeah,
and he's just chilling in the void or something, you know.
Make sure the world doesn't see this series.
Yeah. I don't really know. I don't hate him as Wolverine, honestly. Like, I'm kind of like torn. I think Wolverine is one of those characters where it's like the Fantastic Four. It's so hard to cast that character. There's gonna be something somebody's gonna complain about, even with Hugh Jackman in that costume that looks comic accurate. People were complaining about the sleeves, like right off the bat, you know. So it's like you're never gonna be able to win fully, I feel like, on the Wolverine front.
No.
So like we're just gonna have to kind of just like, I feel like, give it a chance with that one, you know.
From the Facebook chat here, Wolverine cuts off Harry Potter's head. Deadpool.
After Harry uses Avada Kedavra on it, and it doesn't work.
Deadpool kills the Harry Potter universe. I don't know. But the big news today, though, reportedly Marvel went into negotiation with Daphne Keane right before the strike started to happen to bring her back as Laura Kinney, X-23 in Deadpool. They anticipate the strikes and are hoping schedules line up once the studios pay actors and writers fairly, which lines up with Sean Levy saying Deadpool 3 was halfway through filming. It won't be a significant role, but I expect to be a cameo if it happens. So there's still hope for Daphne Keene to be in the film. Or I'm Lord City X-23. This has to be RMC right here from the chat. Someone is going yes. This has to be RMC.
I'm definitely down to have her come back, even for a cameo.
Even her just cussing out and going off on Wolverine again, on Logan again, like she did in the Bronco when they were driving to South Dakota or North Dakota, where they were going.
Well, imagine she meets like Wolverine again, and she sees him, and this is an earlier Wolverine, so he doesn't remember her.
Ooh.
So, like, that would be an interesting little thing that they could do, where she could be like, hey, like, Logan, and he's like, I don't remember you, like, that'd be a weird little twist they could throw into this movie.
From the chat, she deserves it, but also, too, it was RMC. He goes, LOL, how'd you guess? Him being the biggest, probably, Wolverine fan in our group. So, yeah, that's him out there. We do have some schedule updates on the Disney Plus schedule. So Loki season 2 is still on for October 6th. So that's still on schedule. Everything else has been shifted again. What If season 2 will be around Christmas. Echo is going to now be early January. This was supposed to be a Thanksgiving Day full season drop. Now it's January of 2024. X-97 is going to be early 2024. Agatha, the Darkhold Diaries, but there's some news about that too I'll talk about. That is now going to be fall 2024. Also, too, there's a rumored Witches Road special presentation that's going to be on Halloween 2024 as well. So it looks like we're going to get 2 different Agatha projects next year. These other shows here are unknown for schedule, delayed indefinitely. Ironheart has finished, but not completed. It's off the schedule right now. It's still happening, but it's off the schedule right now. Daredevil has paused mid-production, and Wonder Man has paused mid-production. Now, going deeper into these series, Agatha, her title has changed now. So if you go on Disney website, it's no longer Agatha Darkhold Diaries. It's just Agatha. So, and it says with debut of 2024, and that's on the website. So we know what's happening for sure next year. Echo, it's being described as having grittier and more grounded tone than some of the other Marvel series, and will feature appearance of Daredevil and Kingpin. So,
Hawkeye.
Ironheart. So I remember I said it's off the schedule. It's still happening. So the news there is reportedly Ironheart will be brought closer to Armor Wars release. Marvel wants to go full steam ahead with Armor Wars production post strikes. So it does seem that Ironheart and Armor Wars are going to be closely tied together, which I actually like that. So
When is Deadpool supposed to come out?
We don't know. That's also paused too.
Okay, because it was originally supposed to come out next year, right?
Yep, that might slide because of strikes. So they're only halfway through filming that one. Depends on how strikes end up. That might get pushed probably to 2025 or late 2024.
I just feel like because there's been lots of talk about how it's supposed to be setting up Secret Wars.
Well, yeah, there's talk of the chatter.
Because I feel like it should be closer to Secret Wars if it's supposed to be a setup kind of thing.
It depends how they do it. Like, I think the last rumor I heard was that they're going to be in a new universe at the end of it, potentially. And I wonder if they're going to end up being in the universe that has Battle World, possibly. And then we don't see Battle World again until Secret Wars.
Gotcha.
So, Loki. So, Jonathan Majors, his trial has once again been pushed. But reportedly, though, Jonathan Majors is expected to be in more than half of the season's episodes. And we're going to get multiple Kang variants.
Sweet.
So, X-97 expected to be like What If animation style. Anyone. So
really,
not like the classic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be similar to What If 3D animation.
It's a interesting kind of change. I feel like there,
Yeah, maybe they changed it because all the animation stuff and maybe they're streamlining stuff to use the same style, maybe.
Yeah, they initially said that they were going to do it in the same
way
as the original.
But maybe they're trying to stick with that animation style for everything. I mean, not necessarily a complaint. It's just weird that they would bring back a show and change its animation style like that. I feel like.
Yeah. Interesting thing with that would be if they found actors for the X-Men, for their MCU X-Men, and they're basing the animation off of these new actors.
They could do that. True. That's a good point. I Am Groot. Season 2's out there. All 5 episodes are streaming now. I have not watched it yet, but we will watch it and talk about that in the future episode. What if season 2, 9 episodes? Some people say they're titles. Some people say these are descriptions of the episodes. I don't know which, but I'm just going to tell you what they are. What if Gamora killed Thanos? This almost feels like the episode of Stark and Gamora on Sakaar that got pushed to season 2 because of COVID and the animation being delayed. What if Captain Carter finds the Hydra Stomper? And this is continued from season 1, where we saw at the end of that where she went back and you saw the Hydra Stomper in storage. What if the Tesseract landed in, I'm going to butcher this, Nazi Confederacy before the colonization of America? This is the one that's going to introduce a new hero, Kahori, based on Native American. What if Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne fought the Red Guardian during the 1980s? What if Yondu delivered Star-Lord to Ego? Which is interesting because last season we saw that the Star-Lord T'Challa episode that he went, we saw Star-Lord in the fast food restaurant and Ego showed up at the end of that as kind of a teaser. So it sounds like they're building on that one. What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas, which sounds like a play on Iron Man 3? What if Wanda had grown up watching musicals instead of sitcoms? And this sounds like a change of WandaVision, potentially. What if Odin and Hela faced Winwu, which comes back to saying that Hela will be back in season 2? So that'd be an interesting fight. And then what if Avengers fought Surtur? So those are the ones out there that they're being discussed. Again, I don't know if they're the actual episode titles or descriptions because there's conflicting reports on that.
I feel like the Star-Lord going to Ego one is the most interesting one because I feel like that one's going to be incredibly dark. It almost ends up with like him probably dead at a much younger age and like Yondu probably saving him from being killed as a young boy, But yeah, I mean, those are some interesting ones. The Wanda musical one, I'm just like, oh no, please no. Like,
Go ahead.
There's no Shang-Chi in there, right? That we've seen yet? Other
than Winwu, yeah. So I wonder if we'll see Shang-Chi in that episode. I know there was talked about that, phase 4 or 5 characters will start showing up, which we're going to get Red Guardian. We're going to get Winwu. There was talk about Shang-Chi, so I wonder if we'll see him in that one. So,
yeah, I'm really curious what makes the Odin basically brought the Tesseract to Earth like 1,000 years ago. So I'm really curious what leads to it being like transported someplace else in the world
instead of Norway.
Instead of Norway. Like I'll be curious to see how that all transpires and everything. That would be kind of cool to see play out. Yeah,
I just wonder if you'll see like Red Skull and them invade the United States to get that, or how that's going to play out. That's a good point.
Yeah, because I mean, they didn't really discover the Tesseract until like World War II and the MCU. So like on Earth, like mankind did. So like it was hidden all that time. So I'd be really interested to see how they do that. Like just what they do with it.
Daredevil Born Again news. Reportedly, Margarita Lavivia will be portraying Matt Murdock's new love interest, Heather Glenn. In this iteration, Heather will be a couples therapist while sharing a fancy loft with Matt, but there's a twist. She's the therapist for none other than Wilson and Vanessa Fisk. Not all is well in the Fisk household now that Wilson is mayor. So that's interesting. So it's like she doesn't know that he's Daredevil and he's actually in is her office in the loft or somewhere else, or that'd be interesting. He's like in Daredevil's home, but doesn't know he's Daredevil. But Murdock knows he's Kingpin, type of thing. So that'd be interesting. Secret Wars. Apparently or reportedly, Sam Raimi is Marvel's top choice to direct. Marvel is also rumored to have Alfonso Cuarón on the radar to possibly direct as well. Alfonso Cuarón, I hope I say his name properly. He did Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. He did Children of Men. He also did Gravity as well. I suspect if Sam Raimi gets it, it's going to be probably a team of stuff. I think Raimi can handle some of this stuff very well, but I can see him team up with Cretton, who's doing King Dynasty. and other directors to make that a full ensemble cast of directors for that.
As long as we don't get a useless end credit scene like Pizza Papa.
Papa. Yeah.
Yeah,
And if Ramy's gonna be there, we're getting Bruce Campbell in some form or fashion.
Oh, definitely. Like I feel like he'll be in it somewhere. I mean, they were gonna make that joke, I feel like years ago, where he was gonna be, I think Bruce Campbell was gonna be Mysterio or something in one of those movies, and they could totally just have him be Mysterio, just like in cuffs or something, walking away in the background of a scene on Battle World, and I feel like that would just be funny, But yeah, I really hope we don't get another Pizza Papa or anything like that.
And I think Remy did very well with Multiverse of Madness. There's some good elements of that film.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I definitely think he's gonna have to team up with other Marvel directors to get that project done. I don't see him taking on Secret Wars all by himself.
Well, and the funny thing too is like Raimi did the Spider-Man trilogy, and when they were doing Doc Ock in that second movie, and they're looking for names, he's like, "What's a good name?" And they're like, "Doctor Strange," and then he ends up directing the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, how does that happen? It's just very cool.
Fantastic Four news. Here's some interesting ones. Reportedly, Josh Hartnett was offered the role of Doctor Doom before the strike happened. Could you see Josh Hartnett as Doctor Doom?
What movies is he in?
He was in Black Hawk Down. He was in that movie where they were like the faculty. He was in that one. I'm trying to think what else. He was in that movie like where there were vampires. Like 30 Days a Night, something like that. It was called. They were Alaska and they were vampires. What was that?
Oh, sorry. That was somebody drilling.
Oh, you're okay. You're fine.
It was a fart. Jeez.
Yeah. I know. I had. It sounded like a dog burping than anything. But yeah, I'm trying to think what else he's been in.
I feel like he was in a lot of like the later '90s, early 2000s movies, right?
Yeah. He was in that movie with the favorite movie of him that I like, Lucky Number 11, where it's him and Bruce Willis and Lucy Liu. I'm trying to think who else what's his name? Kingston was in there. Not Kingston. The guy who plays Trevor Slattery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
He was in there. Yeah, Ben Kingsley. Yes. So I like that movie. I think he could possibly pull it off. I just would have to see more. So
Yeah, I'd have to hear his voice to see what his Doom voice would be like.
Yeah.
Doom is one of those characters where they have to have the voice. If
The
not,
accent.
it's like show them. Well, no, it's just like they have to be able to monologue almost. Like when they talk, they should like command that everybody stops and listens to what they're saying, and it should be like a very like powerful voice. One of those like kind of. I don't really have anybody to compare him to in the MCU other than maybe like Arthur Harrow in Moon Knight. How he would talk. Everybody would like be interested in what he's saying and everything. That's kind of how I feel like you kind of have to do Doom.
I'd love to hear, or I'd love to see Sam Witwer, like maybe not as the person under the mask, but as the voice.
Yeah.
Because he does Darth Maul, he did Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games, and his voice acting is so amazing that it has that gravitas to it.
Yeah, you need an iconic voice, and they could do the Vader route too, right? Where he is Victor Doom before he's Doctor Doom. He's in the possibly after that they just use a stunt double and they use a voiceover person like how James Earl Jones did Vader. They can go that route. So
I would love for them to do Doctor Doom, just somebody in a costume, and it be mask. You never see his face the entire thing. You never know who's like the voice, and they change his voice when he's wearing the mask. And then at the end of the movie, I don't know how they would pull this off. At the end of the movie, he pulls off his mask, and we don't know who that actor is until he takes his mask off.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Him. I feel like that would be awesome. I feel like that's impossible to do in this day and age because we would probably find out like it would be rumored before.
Yeah.
But like if they're gonna do Doctor Doom, it's just I feel like a big reveal, right? That would be awesome if they could pull.
From the chat here, Facebook chat, what hadn't heard about Josh? I mean, maybe. So, I missed this one. Sorry about this one. Back to Secret Wars. Still would rather have the Russo bros, but I could see Ramy's style working. Also, I like his stuff. Mark drops. Holy Mark comes back here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
They had an internet issue. I'll bring it back in once he comes back. The other one, reportedly right before the strikes, Matt Smith passed on the role of Reed Richards. And the next one to get an offer is no less than Jake Gyllenhaal. I could actually see this. And there's precedent for this. Jake Gyllenhaal, yes, he was the villain of Spider-Man Far From Home. But he's supposedly dead now. And we've seen the same thing with a villain coming back as a hero. We saw, prime example, Captain Marvel, Gemma Chan. She was, what's her name? I'm going blank on the name now.
The Kree.
Yeah, she was the Kree. Yeah. She was on the Kree side, but you really know it was her though. Is the one thing there. But then we turn around, they cast her as Cersei in the Internals, and we're most likely going to see her again. So we'll see what happens with that one. Chat, I missed this one too. And yes, I agree with this too as well. Minerva, thank you. Minerva, she played Minerva in Captain Marvel. But back to Doom, I need him to ride in from a blizzard on the back of a grizzly bear. Maybe save Wanda from the rubble. Yes, this would be the perfect scene. The best way to open the movie up. We just see winter. Also, we start seeing bear footprints. It kind of comes in. He's riding the bear.
Green cloak up.
Yeah,
just on the back of the bear. Riding.
Yeah. Kind of maybe do like the Children's Crusade stuff with Wanda in that, and do a little play on that. Maybe not do necessarily the full Children's Crusade, but do some of the elements of the Children's Crusade between Victor and Wanda. That'd be interesting. She doesn't remember anything, that kind of stuff. So
I think it would be really cool too, with Tony Stark being gone, Stark Industries being like sold off, Avengers Tower being sold off, and things like that. Like, let's say like Stark Industries has been selling some of its like assets and things. If Doctor Doom builds his like armor and suit out of Stark tech and things like that, like it'd be kind of cool to see him like use some pieces of Stark tech in his suit and stuff.
So Mark's computer died, so I don't know if Mark's coming back, so we'll just keep on trucking. Okay. Also, too, the last thing about Fantastic Four reportedly will not only come from the 60s, but also another universe and not the current MCU. That's interesting. It's almost like this could be where they reboot the MCU and start off beginning with Fantastic Four, maybe, or they're coming from another dimension and that's part of Secret Wars type stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of open-ended, isn't it? Yeah.
Daughters of the Dragon. So we have some Luke Cage news pop out. Specifically about Daughters of the Dragon, which basically is Colleen and Misty teaming up from that. So the Luke Cage director Mark Jobs confirms there was plans for a Marvel spin-off series. Yes, absolutely, there was some relationship building in episode 3 season 2, starting with the boxing ring training that culminated in Colleen deliberately leading Misty into a fight to get her off her self-pity, over her self-pity, knowing that Misty would rise to it, which she did. The two of them going off into smoke and in Boca as a definite twosome was a nod to the potential daughters of the dragon. There have been very light discussions about Daughters of the Dragon happening, which I would have loved because working opposite Simone Missick was such a dream to play Misty Knight. And I think that she's so talented and perfect for the role. I do remember some very vague discussions, but you keep your fingers crossed and never knew what was going to happen in this industry. And that was on the Netflix stuff. And I'll love to see that. I think she did well. Her and what's the actress's name for Calling Wing? Jessica, or
I cannot think of it.
But both of those, I would love to see them back and possibly come over into the MCU along with Luke Cage actor Michael Coulter. So it's kind of a sad we're not going to get to see that. Maybe they'll revisit that in the future. Who knows?
I really like Mike Coulter. I would love to see him back too. I know a lot of people said that they could like see maybe somebody bigger than him.
Yeah, a little bigger.
Age,
yeah.
But I feel like even with some movie magic, he's fine as Luke Cage. Like, I thought he did a great job. I liked him as Luke Cage.
Especially when he kept giving those weird looks to Danny Rand. What?
Yeah, I love that gif of him being like, but I am the immortal Iron Fist. So he just rolls his eyes like, oh, God, not again.
Moving on past Marvel stuff into some DC stuff, which is only one thing from DC. Joker 2, Hildar Guanadoter confirms Joker 2 is a musical. All I can say, there's going to be a lot of music. That's all I can give away. And I don't know how I feel about that, the Joker being a musical.
Yeah. I mean, they're, I think, going to play into that kind of like aspect where he's going to meet this Harley Quinn in this movie, and it's going to be probably like a romantic kind of movie, musical kind of type thing. And
all I can picture right now is A Star Is Born with when she played that with Bradley Cooper.
mm-hmm.
That's all I can think of right now. When they say it's going to be a musical, I see a movie in that kind of style.
I keep like thinking of that scene in that second Suicide Squad movie where she's like, you know, like the flowers and all that stuff, the animation and stuff, Harley Quinn, like that version of Harley Quinn, kind of like, and her killing that guy and being like, I said that the first time that I'd see a red flag, I would take care of it. And she shoots the dude or whatever. Like, yeah, like, I feel like it's kind of going to be one of those where it's like, we're going to get probably like a weird little musical, like number every like 10, 15 minutes or so in this movie, which it is weird for Joker, you know, like it's, for the clown prince of crime. So be interesting to see how they kind of do that. I mean, the first one was very different than what I expected for the Joker as well. So
yeah, so I guess I'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle news. Mutant Mayhem is now available on digital platforms, so if you didn't catch it in the movie theater, you can start seeing it. So I'm sure it'll be on other streaming platforms here soon, but you can buy it on digital today. From the chat, Facebook chat here, on the Harley Quinn or Joker 2 news, I agree, definitely weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree there too as well. Ashoka, so episode 5. Tuesday is going to be called Tano Tuesday, where they're actually going to show episode 5 of Ashoka on the big screen in movie theaters in select markets, which is very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there with that. But yeah, it's not everywhere. It's only in select markets. Everywhere else you can watch on Disney Plus. I still haven't watched it yet. I'll probably binge watch it when the season's done.
What's really weird is, and not to get on Disney Plus here for a second, but like, we just had that issue with our Spectrum to where now Discovery and all the Disney channels aren't showing up on our cable. Yep, and ESPN, and like everybody in my family and the people I know are like complaining right now because they can't watch sports.
Yeah, what happened last Thursday, didn't that? Or yeah, right before the college season kicked off, wasn't it?
Yep. So. Yeah, so now I guess like, you know, it's kind of like, all right, just get your subscription, I guess, and you can't watch it on cable. So
yeah. From the Facebook chat here, I'm liking this series a lot when it comes to Ashoka. I heard good things about it. I just haven't watched it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Helps if you watch the Rebels and Rebels Clones or Clone Wars. Yeah, Rebels, Clone Wars, etc. I heard the same thing too as well. That those are kind of prerequisite watches, which I haven't seen either of those fully yet. Only parts of them. The Boys Gen V trailer was out this week, or a teaser. But guess who's making a cameo appearance? Chance Crawford, who plays the Deep, will make a cameo appearance in season 1 of The Boys Gen V.
That's funny. Yeah. Maybe they'll do that thing where, like, you know, since they've kind of ousted him from the 7 and kind of put him to the side, now he ends up there as like an instructor, like trying to like teach these kids how to be a hero or something like that. It'd be kind of funny, you know.
Yeah, they look pretty good from the preview, so I'm looking forward to it. We also see the one lady as Ashley, who runs Bot now.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the latest trailer as well, so we're seeing some people and some ties into it. So,
which it's funny, I almost expected instead of seeing the Deep to see Homelander.
Yeah,
because like it seemed like one of those things that you would like want to probably like roll out Homelander and be like, oh, this is like the ideal, and him like show up for like a meet and greet or something, or to welcome the students and then fly away.
And they mentioned the Homelander 2 in the trailer, so yeah, interesting.
So,
Godzilla. So, Monarch Legacy. Well, first thing, there's two things, right? There's Godzilla, another movie that's coming out. I posted on the page. That looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But Monarch Legacy of Monsters will have the first 2 episodes on Apple TV Plus. The series will premiere on November 17th, so we'll get 2 episodes on the premiere date, November 17th. It's going to be a 10-episode series.
Interesting.
Yep. Last news I have is that D23 was this weekend. There is no news from it. I didn't expect much of D23 since we have strikes going on right now. But the big announcement, though, out of D23 is that it will be in person next year, August 9th through 11th, 2024, in Anaheim, California. Yeah, it's going to be 3 days of all kinds of events and stuff. But yeah, they're having their big in-person one next year. So that's interesting. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe we'll get like a Deadpool trailer or something around then, if Deadpool comes out at the end of the year.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd
be a fantastic forecasting.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
From the chat here, so via the Facebook chat again, pretty excited for both of those. Love the Monsterverse, me too. I'm really excited to hear about that coming, especially finding out that it's going to be the Russell father and son, Wyatt and Kurt playing the same character over different generations, and find some more things about Monarch, because they haven't really gone deep into Monarch yet. And so finding that stuff out will be pretty interesting to see.
That will be cool.
Let me see. Oh, we have a comment here from Twitch chat. Dark Sage is back. Unpopular opinion here. I think DC would have been better off doing an animated universe and slowly building it up. Growing up, I've always liked DC's animation on television, as I feel they have Marvel beat in that department, which you're correct. You're 100% correct there. Let Marvel do live action and DC stick to animation. That's actually a pretty great point there, because DC has had the animation on lockdown, and they've had it consistently on lockdown for a long time, where Marvel's kind of dipped their toe in, kind of left it out, come back, this and kind of stuff. So yeah, where Marvel does have, well, depending on what you feel to Phase 4, Marvel does have their stuff together when it comes to live action universe building, world building, but DC is kind of all over the place. So what are your thoughts on this story?
I mean, I definitely think that even if they did there's been some total animation movies that I've seen that I would put as a live action movie, just rewrite that DC movie as a live action movie. And like one of those would be the one where Superman and Shazam fight Black Adam. And we sort of saw like that, like some hints that maybe that could happen, like at some point, Superman versus Black Adam, whatever. But I definitely think that would have been one of those things that they could have done. That they could have put Levi, The Rock, and Henry Cavill on screen, and all three of those could have fought it out, and that would have been awesome. They could have made the story slightly different, and it would have worked. People would have shown up and loved that. The Rock puts people in the seats, most of the time. A lot of people like Henry Cavill as Superman, and Levi take him or leave him. I think that they could have probably put somebody else there, but I think that would have been a killer animated to live action movie. And I think there's plenty, but animation definitely leads the way for DC. I think that it's if they could just do what they do even half as good in their animated movies in live action, I think that they would do really well, but they struggle.
And back on the Shazam thing, you heard me say too, they could have done a Shazam universe, had other people cameo from time to time, but just focused on Shazam and Black Adam, and then brought Superman in from time to time and done that. But I feel both The Rock and Zachary Levi missed the mark on their projects, and I stand by where I think The Rock should have gone full villain in the Black Adam film, just for that one movie. Follow the Schwarzenegger path with the Terminator. One movie, be the villain. The rest, you can be the hero, you can be not a bad guy, you can be, anything you want, but just the one movie, just do it this way, and I think that they would have built that whole universe up for Shazamverse. So, Dark Sage has more here. The reason it is unpopular is most people tell me that would never sell or get over with casual fans, but I think there is an opportunity for their DC. I think, too, DC does have an opportunity here with the Max as well. With some of these shows that come back, Peacemaker kind of showed that. Yes, Peacemaker got introduced into a movie. I think they could do the same with Blue Beetle. He got introduced into a movie and then bring that into a series, and Alex and I have both said Booster Gold, will be a great place for that. So you could still do some of these things and use the Max as your platform for that. They got Waller series coming out. There's still a Peacemaker season 2. they could do some of these things as series on the Max too as well. They don't have to be animated or they have to be movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I'll use Young Justice as an example. I love Young Justice. Young Justice is a great show. I think it's been ended and brought back like a few times, and they always like change it up a little bit and everything. But it's got Blue Beetle in it. It's got one of my favorite like animated versions of Blue Beetle in it. They bring in new characters and things like that, and I think that show has done a good job of bringing like some DC characters to light that probably wouldn't do that well in live action. And a lot of that has to be because they're kind of just really obscure. And, I think that not every character needs a title movie. And I think DC has a lot of characters like that. So,
Yep.
I think Marvel has a lot of characters like that too. But like, with animation, you have a really great outlet to give those characters like some spotlight,
Any closing thoughts before we close things down?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, well, catch us in the usual spots. Live stream on Twitter. We can't see the chat there, so make your way over to the Facebook page, one of the Facebook groups, to Twitch, to Trovo, or Kick, or YouTube. All those are all Comics Evolved. So we'll catch you hopefully next week. We'll see what we have on the agenda. Next week might be a Monday or Tuesday show. I'll let you know. But yeah, hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. It's the NFL kickoff season. My Commanders won, left hand up. I'm happy to see that. New ownership, things have changed. I don't care how the season goes, but it just seems like that they're back on track before the dark cloud of the owner, and now he's gone. New ownership's in. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take an ugly win over a loss any day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Panthers fan?
No, I'm not really like a big football fan, to be honest. I'm more of like a basketball fan, but I guess like it's funny. My dad's a big Tom Brady fan, so he made the joke that when he like went to Tampa Bay, he calls them the Tampa Bay Tom Brady's,
Pretty much.
which I always love. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a big NFL fan. I guess I'd be a Panthers fan, I guess, but like I've been to a few NFL games and stuff like that. I've just, it's whatever to me. I've never been a big football fan, so I'm like,
no worries there. I'm married to a family of Chiefs fans. I live in Kansas City, so all I hear about is Chiefs stuff here, but I'm happy to see the Commanders, my team that I grew up with, do some good stuff today. From the chat here, bad start for the Steelers. Yes, very bad start for the Steelers, and they were actually being hyped a lot this season. But also, too, look at the Browns, though, today. The NFC North, yes, the Ravens won, but look at the Browns, though. They beat the Bengals, twice down the row in the opener, and the Bengals did not look good at all today. So, NFC North will be an interesting conference to watch. AFC North, I'm sorry. AFC North will be an interesting one to watch. But the NFC North, too, because there's no more Aaron Rodgers. So, and the Lions look pretty good against the Chiefs defensively. Their offense didn't do much. Their offense they've been known for, but they did fix their defense a little bit. So, NFC North is one to watch, too, as well. Especially with, I know RMC's in the Chicago area. I don't know if he follows the Bears at all, but interested to see what they do this season. So, anyways, that's enough rambling. We're not a sports show. I'll get back on track here. So hopefully we'll see you next week sometime. Thanks for joining us. Again, catch us on where we can catch us at, the replays, that kind of stuff. Like, subscribe, give us feedback, review. That way we can do what we need to do to make things better, or topics that we're not thinking about that you all want to hear. So we'll see you next time.
See you guys.